You are a self-described democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires.
Do I see him as an enemy of America?
Yeah.
What he's saying? You're damn right I do. I think he's going to destroy New York City. This guy becomes mayor, the city is gone.
Deeply bigoted, and that's what Rudy Giuliani was. Bigoted nonsense, total trash. You ignore every lie he just said.
I'm delighted to say Rudy Giuliani's been listening and actually didn't really want to leave us, so we've got Rudy back. Rudy, welcome back. Almost 8 months on from the presidential election, and it's still unclear who is leading the Democrats and whether they'll campaign from the centre, the left, or the very, very left. Well, Zohran Mamdani may offer a clue. He's a charismatic Muslim socialist who doesn't believe billionaires should exist, and he just won a stunning victory in the Democratic primary for mayor of New York City, the biggest in the United States. Some of his policies are already raising eyebrows.
We went on your website and realized there's a policy proposal that says your plan, and I'm going to quote it for folks, is to shift the tax burden from overtaxed homeowners in the outer boroughs to more expensive homes in richer and whiter neighborhoods. Explain why you are bringing race into your tax proposal.
That is just a description of what we see right now. It's not driven by race. It's more of an assessment of what neighborhoods are being undertaxed versus overtaxed.
Well, the backlash has been swift and in some cases, let's face it, racist. Congressman Andy Ogles called him Little Muhammad, while Nancy Mace accused voters of, quotes, forgetting 9/11, close quotes. Marjorie Taylor Greene posted a picture of a Statue of Liberty in a burqa before later praising him in an interview with Tucker Carlson.
That guy was the only person in the New York City mayor's debate to say he wanted to focus on New York City. All the candidates were asked, if you could visit a foreign country, what would it be? And they, of course, all had an answer. I think most said Israel. Great. And he said, I wouldn't go anywhere. I'd stay in New York. And like, if I want to meet Jewish constituents, I'd go to their synagogues, their homes or whatever. But I'd be here in New York because that's what I'm doing. I'm running New York. That's my job.
Well, he gave the right answer.
He gave the right answer.
Yeah.
Well, Mayor Eric Adams, who was elected as a Democrat but is running as an independent, accuses Mamdani of, quotes, embracing Hamas, close quotes. What's most revealing, though, is the icy reception from serving senior Democrats, including the current House leader and the New York governor.
Let's start with the big news, Leader Jeffries, out of your hometown. Mamdani won a big victory. Have you endorsed him yet?
I have not. And frankly, stylistically, and I'm not a socialist, and I don't associate myself with what he has said about the Jewish people.
Will you support his candidacy and will you back him?
You know, the election just completed. I had a chance to call and congratulate him on the Tuesday's primary and look forward to having conversation. Obviously, there's areas of difference.
Well, 10 years ago, the UK's Labour Party ran a very left-wing campaign which saw them walloped in the general election. They responded by appointing Jeremy Corbyn as a leader, a radical elder socialist who, funnily enough, was ousted in an anti-Semitism scandal. The bottom line is that the Democratic identity crisis is no closer to a resolution now than it was on November the 5th. Meanwhile, President Trump is racking up win after win after win, and the left has nobody to burst his balloon. So the biggest winner in the current DNC civil war is probably MAGA. In a moment, we'll debate all this with my panel, founder and CEO of the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, News Nation correspondent, Geraldo Rivera, and the former DNC fundraiser, Lindy Lee. But first, to give us plenty to debate, I'm sure I'm joined by the former mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani. Rudy, great to have you back on Uncensored.
Good to see you, Piers.
Your reaction to this character who's come out of nowhere and now the whole of America is talking about him. What's your response to Mamdani mayhem?
A total shock, something I never thought I would see in New York. New York has always been a little bit more inclined to be reasonable when necessary. I mean, we're the only one of these crooked Democratic cities that at any time in the last 60 or 70 years has elected a Republican. Chicago, 70 years of Democrats, Detroit. I mean, you've had me, LaGuardia, Bloomberg. They don't have anything like that. No reform, nothing. So plus we're the biggest Jewish city. For a while, we were the biggest Jewish city in the world. I think Tel Aviv has now passed us. So this is a shock to me that somebody like this would come along. And it isn't even just the anti-Semitism and the anti-Jewish hate. We've almost gotten used to it in the streets of New York now over the last 2 to 3 years. This guy is a major supporter of Hamas. This is a terrorist group that wants to destroy not just Israel, they want to destroy America. Their children are taught from about 2 years old, death to Israel, death to America.
Rudy, where has he expressed any support for Hamas? Because I haven't seen that.
Oh my goodness! I mean, he was by and large he wouldn't condemn what they did when they wiped out the Israeli people. He has refused to condemn them. He refused to acknowledge their terrorists.
Why are people obligated? Why do they have to condemn shit? Like, why must I condemn something? I should be able to do so on my own time. Like, I never understood that. Like, why does it matter if he condemns them? I'm more concerned if he's running for office in America or in New York. I'd rather him focus. I'm paying attention to his policies. There we go. I'm paying attention to his policies. I don't care about whether or not he decides to, what do you say, condemn Hamas. I mean, like, I don't need anybody to condemn Hamas for me.
Group. Every time he's asked, he just kind of punts on the question. He has very, very, very strong statements that sound a lot like Hamas, intifada forever, intifada all over the world. And then he tries to claim that he has his own definition of intifada. You know, sorry, Zoran, you're not entitled to your own definition of intifada. They've killed about 8,000 people. That kind of sets a definition for it. We know what you're talking about. So I think you could put together a case that he supports an internationally acknowledged terrorist group that is a close ally of Iran. I mean, remember, although one is Sunni and the other is Shia, and they hate each other, Iran and Hamas, they join on two things: destroy Israel, destroy America. Death to America, death to Israel. That's what brings Iran and Hamas together.
But really, why if you believe he's so, you know, the way you've just categorized, why have so many New Yorkers in a city, as you said, which has more Jews outside of Israel than any city in the world, why would they have rallied behind this guy if he's such an enemy of Jewish people?
Well, you know, Piers, that's a very good question. It leads me to what's wrong with the people of mine.
It's because they're not bigoted. That's why, Piers. They're not bigoted individuals. Rudy Giuliani is just a bigoted, you know, slow motherfucker. Like, doesn't, like, this is, well, that's a crazy ass question that should be given. Let's look at him. He's old, decrepit. Of course, I'm not surprised people at his age still have that fucking innate, inherent bigotry in them.
City. What's wrong with the people of Chicago? I mean, they had a mayoral primary a couple of years ago, and they picked the most outrageous, the most radical, and the dumbest candidate for mayor, who's now a complete.
So, and let's also be clear that the voters are different. These aren't your boomers or your baby boomers or your Gen Xers. These are your the people who are really paying attention and going to the booths are your millennials and your Gen Xers or Gen Zers now. Those are the ones they're paying attention, and because if you're not paying attention to what's going on in the streets, of course he was going to win that primary. People are sick and tired of your shit. They want to hear something different. They don't want to keep listening to the old people try to, you know, fucking mansplain politics or try to say, hey, what does intifada mean? Like, you know, it's getting tiring. Like, people just want something new. And somebody like something electric, and the right has nothing to offer when it comes to that.
Disaster, and they've been doing it for 65 years. Even though they're a shooting gallery every Saturday night. There's a brainwashing that has taken place in these old Democrat cities. It's the same reason why you'll go into some districts in New York and Biden got 95% of the vote. How could that have happened if the people are thinking clearly? How do we elect de Blasio? De Blasio went to Cuba on his honeymoon. He was in favor of the Sandinistas, and his mother was a member of the Communist Party at Harvard. And then after his first term, he was a complete failure. We had a 22% turnout, and we reelected him. And he's the one who really destroyed the city. I mean, he literally took everything Bloomberg and I did and trashed it. I get people that come up to me on the street crying and saying to me, You must feel awful. Everything you did was ruined.
But Rudy, when you have a Muslim candidate in a city like New York, and people start evoking 9/11, start putting burqas on the Statue of Liberty and all the stuff I played earlier, does that not make you feel uncomfortable? New York is one of the most inclusive cities in the world, right? A place normally that's very tolerant to many different religions, many different colors and creeds, right? Surely you would feel uncomfortable as the mayor of New York when that appalling terror attack happened. Are you comfortable that people use 9/11 as a stick to beat him with?
Nobody's doing that, Piers.
Well, they are.
I was the people who
Literally doing that. They literally put a burqa on the Statue of Liberty. That's
protected the Muslim people after 9/11. People expected a tremendous amount of reaction against them. And Bernie Kerik and I put together a task force for 4 weeks, and there was no attack in New York, not a single one, even though you might have expected one, given the kind of emotion involved. And I talked, one of the first things I said as I was telling my people to please be careful and watch out, it might be another attack, is do not touch anybody. We're not going to be like them. We don't hate Muslim people. We hate the people who did this. And we have to make it clear to them that we can stand up to them. But then again, I'm not a fool. I know there are a substantial number of Muslims, and there's a substantial amount of the Quran that talks about slaughtering Christians and Jews. And there's a whole group of Muslims who believe that.
Hey, Phoenix, what's up?
And unfortunately, an
How you
undetermined
doing?
number of them got into this country in the last 4 years, unlike any other time in our history, because of our pathetic President Biden, who also
What'd he
gave
do?
Iran hundreds of millions of dollars, and Obama did it in cash.
But
So I
would
don't
you
know
have a
what's going
problem,
on.
Rudy? Would you have a problem with a Muslim mayor of New York? Tax day has passed, but for millions.
Oh, good question. I'm gonna let Piers Morgan do his commercial. Yeah, I lost my account. That account's gone. I requested TikTok to just get rid of it. Started a new account. I probably will go back on that account. Not sure. I'll post a link in the Discord if I do. I'll probably post some of the videos that I'm making here on that one. Yeah, it didn't stop there. By the way, I kind of feel like this is more so of a targeted thing because they also got into my email. They got into my my system. So they got into my email and I was locked out of everything that had my email attached to it. So that was my video game system. I had money being taken out of my account. So yeah, Saturday was a fucking trip. Do I have a VPN? I have to check. I'm working on that because I think that I need to get something like that. Saturday was good times. It was good times. It was fun.
Say that. I'd be very comfortable with him. If he's dominated by that sick pathological philosophy, which dominates.
Like I changed every password that I've ever. Okay.
Not all Muslims, but more than a comfortable amount, given all the killing they've done, then I have a real problem with it. And he doesn't sound like a moderate Muslim. He sounds like a Muslim extremist.
You said, Rudy, that you think there may need to be an investigation to see if Mamdani is an enemy of America. Is that the kind of language that is sensible? You said, Mr. Benny Johnson.
I didn't mean an investigation criminal. I meant for the purpose of voting. You and I should do the investigation as voters.
Do you really see him as an enemy of America?
Do I see him as an enemy of America?
Yeah.
What he's saying? My personal.
Yes.
You're damn right I do. I think he's going to destroy New York City. I think this is a disaster time for New York City.
Wow.
This guy becomes mayor, the city is gone. People are leaving the city already. You can't say things like the things he's saying and not frighten the hell out of people. I mean, it has nothing to do with even 9/11. Had 9/11 not happened, he'd be an enemy of the city. He's espousing a philosophy that wants to destroy America, wants to destroy the Jewish people, wants to destroy the Christian people. I really would like to destroy all the Muslims who disagree with them. And he is a very strong supporter of that, and he doesn't make a distinction. And he becomes very cute and stupid and silly. Plus, he's totally unqualified. He's a 33-year-old do-nothing from a rich family who's never accomplished a damn thing in his life. Whenever we've gotten a mayor like that, he's been a terrible failure, like de Blasio. This guy's not an accomplished man. He's
Where is this coming from? Where is all this venom coming from? No.
he's a rich kid who has learned excessive, crazy philosophy so that he can sound smart. I think that's the best explanation I can give of him. It might be worse.
Rudy Giuliani, always good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thanks, Piers. Good to see you. You look great.
Thank you. So do you. Let's debate this now with Cenk, Geraldo, and Lindy. Well, Cenk, you were putting a lot of faces there. What did you make of what Rudy Giuliani said?
Yeah, your audience should ignore everything Rudy Giuliani just said. Everything was a lie. Mamdani's never supported Hamas, never said the word intifada, doesn't hate Jews or Christians. Muslims don't have to write out parts of the Quran. It would be absurd to say, hey, if you're a Jew running for mayor, you've now got to write out parts of the Torah or the Talmud. Otherwise, we don't accept Jews. If you said you're a Christian running, but you've got to cancel out parts of the Bible, otherwise we won't let Christians run. It would be deeply bigoted. And that's what Rudy Giuliani was. Bigoted nonsense, total trash. Ignore every lie he just said. Now, let's talk about, look, there's three different types of people going against Mamdani. There's the economic criticism, which is interesting, legitimate, and debate-worthy. Then there's the people who are opposed to him because he won't bow his head to Israel. And that's Rudy. And that's almost everyone in Democratic establishment and the Republican establishment. So those folks say, no, that's it. This guy won't bow. If he won't bow to Israel, if he's New York first, unacceptable. He has to be Israel first. And that's absurd. And they're deeply racist and they're bigots. And I can't stand it. So there's other critiques of Mamdani we can get into, but in terms of this whole attack against him being Muslim and him not kissing Israel's ass is totally not relevant to New York and is only an argument made by bigots. So I hope I've been clear enough.
I think you've made your position very clear. Geraldo. Welcome back.
Well, I think several things. Nice to see you, Piers and panel. I think, first of all, he has used the expression intifada. He wants to globalize the intifada, and he speaks about it quite often.
What is that? I wonder if people actually know what intifada means. I feel like every time I hear it, people attribute it to something negative, when it really, really depends on the context of when it's being used and how it's being used. I don't think it's just simple. You hear it and it means fucking violence. Like when you hear it and you actually find out what it actually means, it literally means rebellion and uprising. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. So I just honestly feel like people should actually explain, go into detail what you don't like about intifada. Like I can understand it, that it probably has some connotations that sound not good, that make people who are Jewish uncomfortable. But hey, we live in America, and shit, people should be allowed to say what they want to say. And if you feel uncomfortable by somebody practicing their First Amendment speech, maybe, either you should, go under a rock or just, deal with it. I mean, like...
let me finish. Secondly, I agree with you. I agree with you. Please.
I'm playing with these lights.
It's on the record. So just look it up.
The lights might change.
The second thing is that the whole notion.
He's never said it.
The whole notion of moving the tax burden in New York from the richer, whiter neighborhoods to the richer, whiter neighborhoods, as if the richer, whiter neighborhoods don't pay enough in tax. We've had enormous flight of the people who do pay tax to the suburbs and to other states. And all we have to do is increase the tax, the real estate tax, even more under his proposal, and you'll have no taxable base. You'll have no rich white people to pay the tax. The third thing, and curiously, I agree in a twisted way about the situation with the Palestinians. I believe that what you saw, and this is the underreported headline, I believe, is that you saw a cataclysmic shift in the Jewish vote. It was a generational shift. Older Jews and in neighborhoods that were 100% Jews, like the Hasidic neighborhoods and others, they went with Governor Cuomo in the Democratic primary just passed. The people who voted against Cuomo and for Mamdani were the young Jewish voters who are activists, who are in the hundreds of thousands in New York. They are, half of that generation in the city of New York. They are part of the lifeblood of the city. They rejected their parents, Israel always and forever, no matter what kind of view, and they are sick to death of what's happening in Gaza. They can't stand to see Israel continue to wage this very, very unfair, violent campaign against civilians in Gaza. Now you're not talking about Iran, you're not talking about Syria or Hezbollah or the big picture, but you're talking specifically about what's going on in Gaza. It has sickened. I know I have kids in New York. 2 of my children live in New York. 2 now, I just hesitate because 1 just moved, but 2 live in New York. They vote in New York. I voted for Giuliani. I voted for Bloomberg. But to see these kids are rejecting their parents, Israel always and forever, no matter what, and saying, wait a second, Israel has to be held to the same standard as any other nation. We're not going to let you push us. And we are voting, and they rejected the Democratic establishment candidate and the old school ways, and they embrace something much more energetic and humane and compassionate, I believe.
Yeah, and I think also I would add to that, Cuomo is hardly a clean whistle when it comes to candidates. There's a lot of baggage there, which people have probably not forgotten, and memories live long. Lindy, you were listening to that quite intently. I mean, it's a really interesting political story, isn't it? That this guy, Mamdani's come out of nowhere, and he's basically taking down one of the most experienced politicians in the country, in Andrew Cuomo. It's not over yet, but it's looking pretty perilous for Cuomo. You were part of the Democratic machine. What do you put this down to?
It is pretty much over because Cuomo won't quit. So Cuomo and Eric Adams are both running. So what do you think is going to happen? They're going to split the opposition vote to Mamdani. So chances are he's going to be the next mayor. And Cenk, I just want to say my opposition to him has nothing at all to do with Israel or his faith. It's nothing. It's to do with his Marxist ideology. And I have to say, I feel sick to my stomach because of it. I was born in an authoritarian communist regime that murdered my great-grandfather in cold blood. So anything that reeks of communism just sends shivers down my spine. And every one of his proposals, from taxing wider neighborhoods to government-run groceries to free buses, all of these policies will end up hurting the very people he purports to want to help. And Pierce, you brought up a really good question when you were speaking with Rudy. You asked him why so many New Yorkers voted for this guy. Yeah. But let me put it into perspective for everybody. Only 5% of New Yorkers did. Most people didn't even bother showing up. So 5% of one of the biggest cities in the world is actually not a significant amount at all. It's kind of it's just really unrepresentative of where the city is.
Many of us carry around bulky, worn-out wallets that are uncomfortable and full of junk. The big question is why. Ridge wallets can hold 12 cards plus cash with zero bulk. They're made from premium materials like aluminum, titanium and carbon fiber. And they're built with RFID blocking technology to defend your cards against digital theft. Ridge offers a lifetime warranty, so this might be the last wallet you ever need.
Damn, Piers, with your goddamn commercials, bro. When did he used to never have these commercials, bro? Gotta make your money, I guess. Oh, man. Sorry, I was on the phone. Yes, Geraldo, I don't know where. Geraldo's all over the place. He goes where the wind blows him. I mean, where the wind blows. Yeah, he goes where the wind blows. So I can't get an actual read, but he does kiss Trump's ass, and he just follows suit with his own generation's bullshit.
To the Democrats themselves.
He's your typical, like, I don't know if he's Gen X or Boomer, I don't know, but he's your typical.
Tread this ground so many times. They're a vestige of a past. But I want to say that this isn't so much a vindication or endorsement of Mamdani as a flat-out rejection of Andrew Cuomo and everything he represents.
Okay.
Everyone from left to right sees him as a deeply corrupt individual who should never be anywhere near public office again.
Okay, well, listening to all this, I can delight to say Rudy Giuliani's been listening and actually didn't really want to leave us. So we've got Rudy back. Rudy, welcome back. So just to clarify what a few of the
Rudy,
panelists...
by the way, you and I have exchanged a lot of mean tweets. I want to apologize.
Wait, come on.
I don't know. You blocked me. I think you were very angry. I just want to take this opportunity to extend an olive branch.
Wow. Okay, Rudy.
Well, I'm not aware of them. I wonder if they were as excessive as the original attack on me by I thought my friend there. Highly personal and really nasty.
I don't understand it, but you know what? Actually, Lindy Lou, the quick story about this individual is she was actually on the Kamala Harris campaign. Helping Kamala, helping with the campaign, Kamala Harris campaign. Once that was over, once Kamala lost, she did this flip thing. And it's like, I think because, I can't remember why, but she flipped the switch and went full conservative. She calls herself a liberal conservative, which you can't be both in my opinion. But she flipped the script because of online bullying, because of some of her stances. And because she got bullied by probably a few people online, she all of a sudden said, fuck all my values. Whatever I believed in when I was with Kamala Harris, I no longer believe in it because a few people made me angry. So, and she got shitted on by people who were conservative because they're looking at her as like, I don't trust you because I don't really think that you're actually for the conservative cause. So she's a fence rider. She's a fence straddler, to quote Rio.
Oh, it wasn't as bad as Shanks, but yeah.
But in any event, I mean, he's actually quoted. I have it here at two different events using the word "globalize the Intifada." Your candidate, Zoran, and then he weasels out of it by. Well, I mean, just go look at it as you were just told. I mean, try something like
Rudy,
reading.
you're missing the
So
distinction.
read it.
He doesn't say it, but he also doesn't condemn it.
He defends it. Is that a lot better? Just yesterday on Meet the Press, when he was speaking with Kristen Walker, he defended the phrase again. Come on, it looks really bad. It's not something you should say.
He doesn't use it. There's a difference.
He defends it.
I think the key point is he doesn't condemn. He doesn't condemn it. Is the point, right? So he doesn't condemn it, which actually, in the modern climate, for a New York City potential mayor not to condemn a phrase like globalization.
I just don't get it. I don't like. Why does it matter if somebody condemns something like it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, like, it's to condemn it. Like, you're going to be in a position. People aren't going to put you in this position to condemn the phrase Intifada because while you might hate it, it's their First Amendment right to express that. So, like, he's been placed in office to not violate somebody's First Amendment rights. If somebody's being really mean, they have the right to do so. Fucking
it's a pretty big deal.
It's terrible. It's damning.
Well, the reality is.
And again, the term doesn't always mean violence to Jews or violence or death to America, what have you. It literally means rebellion and uprising, and it really depends on the context of how it's used. I mean, like, in the context of using that on campuses, I would think that they're rebelling and there's an uprising because of the events that are happening in Gaza right now by the Israeli government. So, like, obviously people are going to chant that. I don't necessarily think it's people chanting that to fucking be like, all right, I want to eradicate all Jewish people in America or what have you. I don't think it's that. I think people are going a little bit overboard. They're fucking reaching for that one. That's just Netanyahu fucking gunk flowing out their mouths.
He tries to redefine the Intifada as his own definition of the Intifada. It's not violent. Well, go tell that to the thousands of people that have been killed. I used to go to Israel in the late 90s and the early 2000s when Ehud Olmert was mayor. I've been in hospitals seeing girls whose faces were ripped apart by Hamas. There was an Intifada. There were two of them. It killed thousands of people, and it has no other definition. And the guy's playing a sick communist game of double speak.
Not true either.
And Cenk, let me bring Cenk. I'm going to bring Cenk back in. Hang on.
He's a total empty suit.
Let me bring Cenk back in, because another problem Mamdani may have as this goes on is he's on record as saying that he wants to defund the police. He's tried to distance himself from that, but he said it. He insisted that queer liberation means defund the police. I mean, again, the idea that somebody, maybe the mayor of New York, would actually have that as a quote on their record is pretty extraordinary. Is he going to be able to shake off these quotes like that, which to many New Yorkers would be complete anathema. And Rudy, when he was mayor of New York, famously the broken windows strategy of fixing the small stuff and police everywhere and empowering them and resourcing them and so on. And now you've got a guy who wants to defund the police.
Exactly.
He also accuses them of being racist.
So just
he also accuses them of being racist when they are a non-majority
and that's the point. He's not the
police
first to say it. They're
department.
hyper
There's nothing
focusing on
racist
him
about
because
the New
he's
York
going
City
to
Police
be, and he
Department.
might
The
be
last
the
time
next
de
mayor of
Blasio
New
did that, he
York,
got
so.
2 cops killed, and that's what led to their turning their back on him. There was a riot in Baltimore, and de Blasio, like this other crazy communist, went out and said, "Oh, New York is racist too," and a guy came up from Baltimore and he shot 2 detectives, assassinated them 4 days later, and that's why the cops
Rudy,
turned
the
their
question
backs
was to me.
on that guy.
All right, check.
These people are dangerous and they get people killed, and you know who gets
Who's people? Who people? What is he talking about?
killed? The black people get killed as a result of it. Yes,
Not
no.
just black
You don't
Wait, what? 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 Say that again. Oh shit, my bad.
You go.
Say that again, I dare you.
Main question that Piers was asking. Look, there's people like Geraldo said are voting.
Yeah. There was a riot in Baltimore, and de Blasio, like this other crazy communist, went out and said, "Oh, New York is racist too," and a guy came up from Baltimore and he shot 2 detectives, assassinated them 4 days later, and that's why the cops
Rudy,
turned
the
their
question
backs
was to me.
on that guy.
All right, check.
These people are dangerous and they get people killed, and you know who gets killed? The black people get killed as a result of it.
What the fuck? Why did he say that? What relevance does that have in the conversation that they're having? Wow, Jen. Okay, everybody has that black card to pull out. I don't know why.
Yes, no. You don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I know he's lying. That's the card people pull out in debates. It's to garner sympathy, because they say if you get to say black people are getting killed, it's a card. It's something. Trump's done it. Rudy Giuliani has done it. Pierce has done it. It's always they keep cards in their back pockets when they know they're losing a debate, so they start throwing out random shit about black people. And it's fucking annoying. There was no reason for that. Okay, the conversation was about something completely different. And you know who's gonna get killed? Black people are gonna get killed. And come on.
Let's talk at once. Cenk, you go. You go.
Okay, so a bunch of misnomers there. First of all, it was the highest voter turnout in a Democratic primary in a long time. I was part of the AOC campaign. We were counting on low voter turnout. Not in this case. The tide has changed. The younger people, like Geraldo said, are voting for change, and middle class is voting for change. So you guys play word games. But now to the main question that Piers was asking. Look, there's some of his policies that I don't agree with. I don't agree with defund the police. I wouldn't have had government-run grocery stores at the top of my list. I just wouldn't have, right? And I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I just wouldn't have prioritized it. So free buses, that's super interesting. I want to see how it works. These are not my policies, but the Democrats in New York elected him, and so let's let him give it a shot, right? So in terms of, defunding the police, again, let's be careful, and he is careful. He at least says it the right way. I don't like the phrase at all, but what he's talking about is moving some portion of the money towards social services. So, okay, you could say, I don't want to try that. That's fine. You've got a general election coming up. But a lot of his economic policies are for change. That's the third issue that I mentioned, Piers, in the beginning. And so overall, I'm for change. I'm against the establishment. So if this brother wants to try the grocery stores, he wants to try free buses, etc., let him take a shot at it. We've already seen what the establishment has to offer, and it's nothing but pulp. It's driven this country into the ground. I don't want another Cuomo. I don't want another Adams. I want change.
Well, it's really, let me just, I want to ask Geraldo actually first, then come to you, Lindy, because it's interesting actually that what Cenk just said, because the conservative writer Rod Dreher likened Mamdani's win to Trump's. He said New York left-wing voters, quotes, lashed out against what they regard as a failed liberal establishment, electing a charismatic populist who promised a clear break with the past. We on the right can shake our heads and laugh at how dumb New York liberals and progressives were to choose a candidate as politically inexperienced and radical as Mamdani, but don't miss that this was also a referendum on the Democratic Party itself. And, you know, I do remember, Geraldo, when in 2015 Donald Trump came down the famous elevator saying, I'm going to run for president, everyone mocking and laughing and saying he's got no experience.
That's the same elevator when he came down and told a 10-year-old girl that he was going to be dating her in 10 years.
This is a ridiculous candidate, quoting all sorts of incendiary things he'd said before, blah, 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 blah. And he won. And he's now won again. So is it mad for the Democrats to actually go for a young, kind of their version of Trump?
I think will, in New York at least, mostly be affected by people's wallets, by people's pocketbooks. There is no way that the middle class, the upper middle class, the strivers, the hard workers, the college-educated business creators, there's no way that they're going to tolerate more tax, more income tax. And to think that you're going to have free transit and free food and free housing, free everything. There's no such thing as a free lunch. My goodness, haven't we learned? There's no way to have socialism in a city that needs, in a city.
You know, they gave Tim Walz shit about that. I think they have free lunches in Minnesota. I got to check that. I got to run that again. But I think that Tim Walz in Minnesota, they do have free lunches. So it is possible people are going to have to pay for it. But I don't see why we don't want to give kids free lunches. You know, God forbid that they're probably, hopefully not, they might not be eating at home. So coming to school, getting a free lunch, shit, that green ticket, man, when I was eating a lot at home, I sure love those 40-cent lunches. Those 40-cent lunches, and I get the green ticket. Shit was fire.
That needs the vibrancy of Wall Street to create the jobs. It's not just the brokers it's the grocery guy on the corner of Wall Street. It's the Uber driver, et cetera, et cetera. If you take the tax base of New York and attack it anymore, it will be a failed city like so many others. And it's the last thing. We have to embrace the police. We have to embrace the job creators. We have to try to lower taxes in the richer, whiter neighborhoods so they don't go to Scarsdale and other communities, upscale communities that don't tax nearly as much. And
sorry to keep pausing, but like when he says we have to embrace the police, I feel like this is just another one of those conversations where there's another demographic of people who are excluded from this conversation, who have consistent historical discontent for the police because of how we are constantly profiled and treated. So when you say this is a white man, yes, I'm just gonna fuck it. This is Geraldo saying that we should embrace the police. There's no other black person on this panel that's agreeing with that. These are people of privilege here. And I'm not saying they have full privilege. I'm saying that when it comes to the police, and he's saying we should embrace them, should black people embrace them?
In terms of the cops, my goodness, I voted for Giuliani and Bloomberg before him. And the change in the city over those 5 terms was extraordinary. It was a functioning, workable, integrated city where the goals and the dreams of socialists were realized with the fruits of capitalism. So I think that this kid is way off the mark. But I also believe that if all these people run on independent lines, as promised now, Eric Adams, Andrew Cuomo, Curtis Sliwa, he could win. Yeah. You could have the first young Muslim, mayor of the biggest Jewish city in North America. It could happen, and it could happen particularly if the sore of Gaza continues to deep.
Yeah, I think you're right. Lindy.
By the way, wouldn't that be beautiful, guys?
Well, actually, it would be an amazing thing. It would be an amazing thing. And I actually thought that, Jake, that the way Geraldo framed it earlier, that hundreds of young Jewish people, male and female, who actually do not share the view that of their parents and grandparents, that you have to have just blind, devoted loyalty to Israel, particularly if its government is behaving in the way that it's currently behaving in Gaza.
Because they are...
And they voted for a Muslim mayor.
Earlier,
Isn't that a beautiful thing about America? I mean, isn't that a beautiful thing about America, that we don't care about religion, that young Jewish voters and young Christian and Muslim voters vote for a Muslim candidate because they believe in his economic message and his message of justice? That's what America is supposed to be all about, that we forget about this race and religion stuff and vote on the substance.
You talk about him implementing change, but all of his promises are lies. When we can go through and debunk every single one. For example, he says he wants to offer free buses, but guess what's going to happen then? If you don't charge anything for buses, there's no funding for transportation coming in. So how are you going to maintain your infrastructure fleet? And if you control rent, the supply of housing is going to decrease and the quality will decrease as well. And most importantly, though, who's going to pay for it when the governor of New York herself, Kathy Hochul, vowed that she would not be raising taxes? So every single thing he said was actually a lie. Either he knew it or he doesn't. I don't know which is better. Is it deception
No, it's not a lie.
Well, I just told you, I gave
Lindy,
you 3
it's not a lie.
examples of things that could just cannot happen because the governor is not raising taxes. He can't operate in a vacuum. Okay, not everyone is
Lindy,
a communist. You have to partner with other people in the government and collaborate. It's a whole of government approach.
So,
it's not a
Lindy,
microcosm.
You're saying you disagree with his approach, but to say that it's a lie doesn't make sense. No, he really does want free buses, and he has a plan for free buses. Now, you can say, hey, I don't think that plan is going to work, and I think it's going to have negative consequences. Well, good news. Let's hope we're about to find out, okay?
Well,
and maybe you're wrong. Maybe the free buses totally work out, and in fact, there are different ways to finance it.
I think he went into the campaign knowing that he was offering false promises to the New York people. Another thing that I find extremely alarming is saying that he said his ultimate goal is to seize the means of production. That is something straight out of Animal Farm right there. It has no place in the United States of America.
He certainly has. He's got a lot of quotes on his track record. I want to pivot just before we finish this. Rudy, I want to talk to you about Donald Trump, because you could argue the last 2 or 3 weeks have been the best, really, of his entire time as president, first and second term combined. You've got this extraordinary strike on Iran's nuclear capabilities and a ceasefire coming when people did not anticipate that happening so quickly. He's got NATO to stump up to 5% of GDP on individual spending, a massive win at the Supreme Court, of course. Peace deal in Africa. He brought peace between India and Pakistan when that was flaring up. He's moving hard to try and get peace.
Okay, so first of all, he didn't garner that peace between India and Pakistan. Actually, they flat out denied that he had anything to do with that. That came from India themselves. They flat out denied it. Like, they were asked point blank, man, how much did Trump contribute to this, peace deal? It's like, or this peace. They said he didn't do shit. Basically, he's paraphrasing, he didn't do shit. Maybe he talked a lot, maybe he said something, but he didn't. Apparently he had no real fucking influence. Donald Trump doesn't have influence, he has threats. Let's be 100% clear. He's never going to get that Nobel Peace Prize that he wants. He'll never be Barack Obama. He never will be. I know he wants to be. I know he wants to be better. This is going to go down as the worst president in history as he continues to fuck up America every single day. Every day. If he's not fucking with the Constitution, if he's not flipping off the fucking courts, if he's not deporting people, he says fuck due process. He says fuck you as a fucking American human being. So it's
in Gaza. He's moving hard to try and get peace in Ukraine. If we end up at the end of the year and there is peace in Ukraine, there is peace in Gaza, and all the other things I've mentioned.
What peace in Gaza? Gaza's destroyed. Israel had fucking decimated Gaza. What peace is there? Why do people keep saying peace, peace, peace? No, there's no peace in Gaza. They didn't do anything. This is just a genocide. There's no peace in genocide. You can't find peace in genocide.
Here, not to mention the southern border has pretty much stopped now having anyone coming over illegally, and the economy, if that is purring.
That's another lie, and I'm sorry. I just keep hearing things. I just don't disagree. I'm telling you this. I will give Trump credit. I will give him credit for keeping a cap on what is the border encounters. But I think what people have to realize is it doesn't matter who would be in office right now at this very point. The border encounters would be down around the same rate that it is, because it was already going down by the time Joe Biden had left office. It was at a low 64,000, I believe, encounters back the middle of 2024 or something like that. It would not have mattered. No one's talking about that because they don't want to give, even the Democrats don't want to give like Joe Biden credit for this. It was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris that went across the borders and made deals with those countries, Mexico, El Salvador, and all those other countries, to increase their troops on the border. That's why the encounters are low. It's not because everybody's afraid to cross the border because of Donald Trump. It's because there's more military presence on the border. This is easy research for people to look up. It's simple. They just don't want to give the previous administration credit for shit.
Away as well, given that the stock market's pretty much back where it was before the tariff war started. So he's obviously pleasing the markets. If you put all that together, this could be a stunning, successful year for Trump.
Well, Piers knows a lot of ifs, but they're all ifs that he's aiming toward. And I think people, because of their insanity about him, haven't recognized that there's a different Donald Trump since Butler County.
He's got a fly in his
Much
room.
more serious, much more concerned about the future, much more concerned about life and death, and frankly, much more spiritual.
Yeah.
It's a different Donald Trump than the one Geraldo and you and I grew up with.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Cenk, I mean, putting aside the fact you can't stand him, do you acknowledge he's had a lot of wins?
Well, I
look, I give
That's for
credit.
Cenk, Rudy, that's for
Rudy,
Cenk.
that one's for me too. Yeah.
Well, I know there's a big,
look,
big
I give
noise
credit where
behind me,
credit
I'm
is
sorry.
due.
Yeah, give him
That's okay.
credit.
Yeah, no, on some things. So, look, I think that the budget bill's a disaster. I think that it's going to pass and it's going to create $4 trillion deficit. And they always give away tax cuts for the rich and then go, oh, golly gee, I don't know how we wound up with such a big debt. It's because of Republicans who passed these giant tax cuts. And I can go, and I don't like Marines in the streets. There's a million things that I criticize Donald Trump on that, and he deserves that criticism. But the proof's going to be in the pudding, right? So if he walks back all the tariffs, as he's in the middle of doing now, he closes the border, and this is the critical part. If he gets a two-state solution, which just sounds so unbelievable, right? But if he gets that to happen, then there's no way that you could stop his popularity. Because at that point, he will be a peace president. He probably will win a Nobel Peace Prize, and it'll cement his legacy, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it. But that's a giant if, right?
Sure.
But if he allows Israel, which is much more likely, if he allows Israel to continue the slaughter in Gaza, he continues having them agitate for war in Iran, and he continues with the tariffs, he continues with Marines in the streets and National Guard in the streets, et cetera, then he's going to continue to be more and more unpopular. So the jury is very much out right now.
All right, Geraldo, you know, I thought Rudy hit on something there. Rudy has slipped off into the night, I think, but thank you. Unexpected bonus to having returned.
Listen, it's Rudy's bedtime.
The thing you said, though, about Trump being a changed man since the assassination attempt, I've definitely detected that when I've talked to him. I also think he's a man who got a second lease.
I don't like the optimism. I don't know. If Donald Trump wins a Nobel Peace Prize, it'll be the biggest fucking fraud. Like, whoever wins a Nobel Peace Prize after Donald Trump, if he so happens to win a Nobel Peace Prize, consider that shit invalid, because now they're just giving it out. They're just passing the shit out. There should be no reason. He actually initiated. We literally started a war that he literally bombed. He literally bombed Iran for no fucking reason because another country told him to do so. That's the crazy part. A president of peace doesn't do that. You don't bomb sites because somebody tells you so, and your own fucking intelligence saying, hey, they're not doing anything. We don't need to do this. There's nothing there. There's nothing saying that they're here, but your fucking butt buddy Netanyahu says, yo, they're building fucking nukes. Okay. Get the fuck out of here, bro.
He's alive. A second lease at the presidency, and he's on a mission, a real fast-track mission to get stuff done, because he knows come the midterms that things may slow down. He might get paralyzed in terms of his ability to get stuff through. So he's on a mission in these first 2 years, I think, to get as much done as he possibly can, and to do it in a pretty blunt and often quite savage way, because he knows from his first term that if you don't do that, you won't get stuff done.
Well, I think I agree and disagree. I disagree because I believe that his draconian policies toward undocumented immigrants in this country, not the border's fine, sealed the border, but the people who are here, who have proven to be law-abiding and hardworking and God-fearing and family-oriented, what they are living in terror now. I'll tell you right now, Piers, I've never seen anything like it, particularly Hispanic. It hits close to home. It is, you can't find workers now.
I agree.
Service people. The Hamptons are in panic over, our affluent holiday spa in the eastern end of Long Island now. Can't find Mexicans to come and work there. It's shocking and it's awful. In terms of his spirituality, just very, very briefly, he's been always extremely easy to underestimate. He has all kinds of enemies everywhere he turns, but he has gone through the list of achievements that you listed. There is so impressive, it's historic, and he's a slam dunk, I think, for the Nobel Prize, particularly if he get Gaza and Ukraine, if he can figure those out.
Why?
Then God bless him, he deserves it, absolutely.
Yeah, Lindy, I mean, I thought Geraldo made a good point there. I don't understand about the deportation policy, why they didn't stick to what they originally said they were going to start with, which is just kick all the criminals out, because that seemed to have universal support. Excuse me. Support. If you were here undocumented in America and you committed a crime, that's it, you're gone. Everyone would have cheered that. It's the fact that they've expanded it very quickly, and they've let people sort of slip through the net where it clearly looks unfair or there's a lack of due process. That's now become to dominate the narrative.
Piers, I think I'm going to say something that will probably surprise you. I don't think he's gone hard enough on immigration. I think he should do more. I think anyone who comes to this country illegally should.
So I think what Lindy is saying, that he thinks that Tom Homan should just start ripping babies out of the fucking womb of women, and deporting those fetuses. I think that's what she's saying. Because I don't know what the fuck that means, not far enough, because they've gone pretty fucking far with these deport. Like, I don't know what else could they do. I guess that's just something edgy she wanted to say.
Should not be here. As a naturalized American myself, I'm extremely pissed off that millions of people have just stormed across the southern border willy-nilly, completely desecrating our laws and our immigration system. How is that fair? And I think that's one of the reasons why Democrats lost, because
decimating.
They don't realize how many Americans who came here as immigrants they pissed off by coddling these illegal aliens.
But what about Geraldo's point that already people are struggling now because so many people are being deported and there's a terror of being deported? And you know, there's clearly a qualitative difference between somebody who's in the country illegally, who commits a crime, and somebody who maybe came over 10 years ago, 12 years ago, has had kids in America, has got a job, is paying taxes. These are two different cases, aren't they?
So we should triage. We also broke our laws. What is the point of having laws if they're just broken? Okay, if we should have a sensible system. If you want to come to America, you got to be able to contribute to the success of this country.
Isn't that what they're saying?
All right, let's let Geraldo respond.
Is she not listening?
42%.
I came here. I came to this amazing country.
God bless your family. So did all of our families.
We never took a handout. I'm still talking.
42% of our agricultural workers are undocumented. And nobody disagrees with that statistic. 42% of the people who till our fields, who reap our crops, who feed us, 42% are undocumented. They're not the tabloid 1 in a million who commits a heinous crime.
My point is that we should triage. Yes, Piers, that we should prioritize the criminals, but anyone who comes here illegally does not have a right to be in this country.
No, of course, but the problem with that is that there are apparently up to 80 million people who are undocumented in the United States. You're going to throw them all out? I mean, that seems to me a ridiculous aspiration.
We don't have the resources to throw them all out, but my personal view is that you should be respectful to the laws and regulations.
I don't disagree with that, but I do think you can't throw out 80 million people, particularly in a country, Cenk, which is founded on immigrants. Cenk.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm also a naturalized citizen, and my family came here because we love this country. And if you saw America the way that I see it, I think you'd love it even more. So I get it that people are frustrated that people are coming in illegally, but they didn't come here. The great majority of them didn't come here for anything but economic opportunity for their families. So look, people want to close the border, and Trump has done a good job of closing the border. Credit where credit is due. That is what people voted for. But I think Joe Rogan is right. They did not, and I think Geraldo's right. They did not vote for ICE to go in the middle of the country, in the middle of our cities, and uproot people that have been here 10 years, 20 years, that are doing super hard work. We should have a reasonable, sane immigration policy where we have a pathway to citizenship. We should acknowledge that we need these workers, and we should get them decent wages and a decent policy, by the way, and close the border. Do it right. Instead, what's happening now is we have undocumented immigration mainly because of corporate power. They want to be able to pay these guys less. They want to be able to use their work and not give them the right credit for it, or, by the way, use their work instead of Americans and not pay them the proper wages.
Okay.
So the real problem is corporate rule, and that's why we can't get to it.
But I would love to see you demonstrate the same sympathy to the victims of the rapes and the murders committed by illegal aliens, by the millions of people that Biden let into this
Can I address that real quick?
completely unvetted.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, natural-born citizens are the most violent, most criminal group in the country compared to undocumented immigrants and naturalized citizens. So naturalized citizens like me and Lindy are 4 times safer. We commit only a quarter of the crime on average. Undocumented, hold on, let me finish. It's almost over. Undocumented immigrants commit half the crime of natural-born citizens. So does that mean we should kick out the natural-born citizens, or natural-born citizens?
Tell that to Lincoln Riley, by the way, who's no longer
The number
alive.
of criminals are small in each one of those categories. And demagoguing about criminality when, on average, undocumented immigrants commit half the crime of the people that are born here is just demagoguery.
The one thing I would like,
driving towards
Listen,
a real solution.
Lindy, we got to wrap up, I'm afraid.
If you're an immigrant in this country,
Lindy, I've got to wrap it. I'm sorry.
You should not be committing any crimes.
Well, I agree with that. But what I would
Everybody agrees with that. The fuck is she talking?
say is the one thing I would like as part
We
of
all
all
agree
this.
with that.
I would like someone like me, who's lived and worked in America and has a home there for 20 years now. I would like to be described as something else on my visa other than exceptional alien. I think there's something very unfriendly about the description of me as an. I mean, I like to think I'm exceptional. It's the word alien. The word alien really pisses me off.
You're my
Anyway,
favorite exceptional.
Can we all
alien.
agree that you could have more friendly terminology for people like me? Thank you.
Man. Oh, that was fun.
That's for sure.
I'll take that as a yes.
Unless
guys,
you're from Mars.
Yes.
thank you all
have you
very
as an
much.
honorary
I
guest.
really appreciate the panel, and to Rudy, who came and went like a ghost in the night, but it was great to have him. Thank you all very much. Piers Morgan Uncensored is proudly independent. The only boss around here is me.
Yeah, it's the same shit over and over again. Oh well.